Hello and welcome to Switch Scheme. Thank you so much for joining me, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over my biggest disappointments in gaming in the last decade, focusing primarily on the Nintendo Switch. I did sprinkle in some PC-specific items in here just because they're so relevant to me as I am primarily a PC gamer, and my number 10, although it's not from the last decade, is such a disappointment for me as someone who loves the IP it was based on, and I think it was a disappointment for everybody as a whole back then. I had to include it. There's no way I could get around it. All that being said, keep in mind this is my opinion. I understand that my disappointments and your disappointments are completely different, and that's valid. It's okay to have differing opinions. You're more than welcome to go down in the comments and tell me how wrong I am about my disappointment in number 9. That's okay. I'm not going to judge you for it. I just ask that you please be respectful when you leave that comment and don't go too crazy. All that being said, I want to throw a thank you to everybody who came out and watched my last video, the 100-line Last Defense Academy review. That video hit over 10,000 views, which for a small channel like me, that is a huge milestone. So I thank each and every one of you for, bringing that sort of level of engagement to that. It shows me that that's the type of content you're looking for. So I know now where to put a little bit of my focus. And to be honest, that game is so great. Bringing more eyes on that game is a win. If you enjoy this type of content, tier lists, top 10s, and reviews, please drop a like and sub on the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't already, check out the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/utinibikini. I know the name is different. I made the Twitch channel years ago, and all my community is over there. And I'd really greatly appreciate if you came and hung out with us. And I also would like to point out, I now have my Discord up and running. It was mostly set up for all my Twitch community, but I did finally add integrations for YouTube. I'll add the link down below if you want to come and join us. I would love for us to mix these two communities together. All my Twitch friends are over there, and it would be great for you guys to meet each other, interact with each other, and bring this community to one awesome group of people. All that being said, thank you for letting me get the housekeeping out of the way. Let's get to the list with number 10. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Aliens Colonial Marines. And the reason I'm putting this at number 10 and not number 1, even though it is probably the biggest disappointment I've ever experienced, is because it's not really within the last decade, and that'd be kind of cheating. But in reality, this is my number 1, 100% if I don't stick to the rules of the video. I have an Aliens shirt. I have the Aliens Romulus popcorn bucket, which I will never put popcorn on this. This is strictly a display piece that goes right there underneath Leon. I have an autograph from Sigourney Weaver that I still need to frame. I got this 2 days ago in the Power Loader from Minchie Authentics. Thank you. Not a sponsor, just great company who does autographs. She did that in the really cool acid blood green pen, which I thought was a neat touch. I have the board game Aliens Another Glorious Day in the Core. I bought every expansion for this. I've painted and built the miniatures. Wonderful co-op game. Survival horror board game, so good. I also have an autograph from one of the best actors in the business. You've seen him in so many movies, Mr. Lance Henriksen, specifically, of course, as Bishop in this autograph. This is a much older autograph. I've had this for a couple years, hence why it's framed. Sigourney needs a frame, but again, I just got that 2 days ago. I need to find a cool frame for it. That all being said, Aliens is my number 1 movie, one of my favorite IPs. I absolutely love it. Between Gladiator and Aliens, they fight for my number 1 spot in movies all the time, but Aliens almost always comes out on top. Always in the mood to watch Aliens. Always, always, always. So when this game was announced, I was over the moon. It was absolutely fantastic. I was so excited. It was a canonical sequel to Aliens. Hicks was alive. The visuals were so good in the E3 trailers in 2010, 2011, and then the game dropped.
That is one big pile of shit.
And that's literally how we all felt. It was just bad.
You fucked it up!
The AI was so stupid in that game, which really kind of bummed us out because Alien should be one of these hardest AIs to ever beat. Looking at you, Isolation, one of the best AIs ever put to gaming. But in Colonial Marines, they would just run straight at you and they would do these weird things. And then finally we find out, oh, it's because there was a coding error because they didn't read the code properly. And by switching a simple 0 to a 1 or whatever, it fixed the way they tethered to things. And now the AI is a little bit better. It's not perfect. The game is still garbage, but it's better. I still like this game and I still play it, but I do use a mod. I'll flash up an image here of the mod that I use. This guy put in so much time and effort to make this game a better experience, and admittedly, with his mod, the game does feel a lot better. But the fact that I have to use a mod to make the game playable and fun tells you how bad the initial game was. There were all these rumors going on back in the day about how Gearbox was allocating resources that were meant for Colonial Marines over to their Borderlands game. To this day, I still do not buy Borderlands or any Gearbox products for the most part, because I'm so angry with them and their mishandling of this. And the fact that Randy Pitchford would never admit it, he just would never come out and just say, yeah, we dropped the ball, I'm sorry. He kept pretending like this was like a AAA masterpiece and lying to our face. Like, he was gaslighting the community so hard, and then he just pretended like it didn't exist. So I lost so much respect for Randy Pitchford when that happened. And again, I'm on an island. I know a lot of people like the dude. I've never liked him because of that. So for me, this is my biggest disappointment. I could rant and rant and rant about this game. I'm gonna stop there and move on to my number 9. Coming in at number 9 is gonna be one of those ones where you're either gonna go straight to the comments and curse the day I was born, in my opinion, or you're gonna unsub, dislike this video and move on. We'll see which one it is, and that is Tears of the Kingdom. I didn't like this game. I'm so sorry. I'm just gonna say it right out the gate. I did not like this game. Breath of the Wild, great game. 10 out of 10. One of the best Switch games ever. It's up there like in the pantheon of best Zelda games with Ocarina of Time. This game did not fit that bill for me. I know a lot of people love this game. It is a great sequel to Breath of the Wild if it gives you what you're looking for. I was not looking for Legos in my Zelda game. That's not what I was wanting. I get that for most people, that mechanic is really cool. And I do admit, as a mechanic, it's awesome. The ability to snap things together in the environment and kind of put everything together in the environment was really neat. It's a cool sort of like gateway into where gaming can go, especially with a Nintendo. Totally on board with that. But I'm not that creative. I'll admit that right off the top. When it comes to building things with Kinects and Legos and, you know, Lincoln Logs and stuff like that, that's not something that I'm really good at. So when that is the main mechanic of the game, I feel stupid the entire time. There's that one sequence where you first have to build a boat, and the game is teaching you how to build the raft, build the sail, build the fan, use the fan to push the boat. If that didn't exist, I never would have gotten across that river because you can't swim it. Oops, I guess I'm done playing. Yes, you can call me an idiot. I get it. I understand. I'm on an island here. But this game, that being the primary mechanic, it just didn't click with me. It doesn't resonate with me. It doesn't interest me. So for me, having loved Breath of the Wild and considered Breath of the Wild one of the best Switch games ever, when this came out and I played this, I never finished it. I still to this day haven't finished it. I don't think I ever will. One of the reasons I don't review it is because I haven't gotten far enough to really get to end game, and I don't like reviewing games until I've either finished them or gotten to the end game to experience that. And because I haven't gotten anywhere in this game, because I just don't like that primary mechanic, I can't review it fairly. For me, this game is not a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10, and for most people, that's blasphemous. So I'm gonna just put it back on the shelf. I respect its greatness, and I respect what it does for gaming. It's just not for me. Coming in at number 8 is kind of a weird one, because this is a situation where I love the game, but I'm disappointed with the handling of it, and that is Persona 5, specifically Royale, but Persona 5 as a whole. Let me start off by saying Persona 4 is my preferred Persona. Persona 3 is great. I like it. Persona 4 has the best characters and story for me. I also am biased. That was my first one on PSP. And then Persona 5 came out. And although, yes, again, like I said, this is one of the best games ever in terms of JRPGs with a story, it's just too darn long. I'm not as engaged with the character. I don't like Joker. I know he's hype, but I don't know how much of that is just an aesthetic hype versus him as a character. He's kind of boring, cliche, kind of just your typical, I'm edgy. And it doesn't click with me. I don't like that type of character. And then when you look at the roster, right, you have the two main friends who are fine. Those two are cool. You have this guy right here who is insufferable. Whenever he's the main character of, topic of conversation, I'm so bored. The whole sequence with him in his palace, I could not have cared less. His personality is like a wet noodle. I do not like this character. And then you have this new character for Royal. She's really cool. but she's like an on-rails engagement situation, right? She shows up at specific points in the story, and you have to drop everything you're doing to engage with her and build that relationship with her, because she's not naturally part of the story. She doesn't just show up, you know, like all the other ones. The other ones you can kind of talk to at any time as long as you play your cards right. With her, you have to wait until the story beat tells you she's here and she's a character you can engage with. And I did not like that. It was very frustrating because it'd be like, today I want to go hang out, you know, with one of the characters I need to build the relationship with. Maybe I can get him to relationship level 6 and unlock something. But oh, here comes this girl. Now I have to drop everything to pay attention to her because I'm not going to see her for another few weeks because the game dictates those, you know, story beats. So I didn't like her inclusion. She's a cool character, don't get me wrong. You know, her little story arc of overcoming, you know, disappointment and being the best I get that, and it's cool. It's just her implementation in Royal just was kind of like, why? You didn't need that. Futaba's my favorite character. Her story, you know, her story of loss and tragedy and the mystery over what really happened was really cool. How it relates to the overall story as a whole was really cool, right? You kind of just want to give her a hug to make her feel better after you realize what happened to her. She was definitely the highlight character for me when it comes to storylines and story arcs. All the other characters were just kind of whatever. I didn't really resonate with this group. That being said, the story is also not one of my favorites. I found it very frustrating how I'm 80 hours in and every, you know, interaction I have with the big bad has been some CD CEO talking on the phone to some unknown person, getting instructions and giving advice on what their next steps are going to be. And I'm 80 hours in and I still don't know who the hell the bad guy is. I found that very frustrating as a storytelling mechanic because it reminds me of like the first Friday the 13th, where it's a whodunit, who's the bad, but yet you don't meet Pamela Voorhees until the last 15 minutes, you know, right at the end of the third act. And you're like, wait, who's that? I was supposed to guess it was her. How would I ever have guessed that? It kind of felt the same way in this. And again, that's just the way it is for this type of game. I get it. They're supposed to be long, epic adventures. The other Persona games aren't that short, right? They're long games too. I just felt this one was way overdrawn and way done. After 80 hours, I think I was in like November 15th. I'm looking up how much longer do I have? What day is the last day of this game? Because I'm kind of over it. I want to just rush to the end now. I don't really care anymore about the side content. I just want to finish this game. And I did, and it was satisfying enough. When you don't really care for the main character, who cares about what happens at the end? So for me, this was kind of a miss. Again, I acknowledge it's a great game. I do like it. I do play it regularly. It's a lot of fun. It's a great JRPG, but I'm also tired of it being the main focus of this company. You have Persona 5 Tactica, Persona 5 Strikers, Persona 5 Royal, and now you have a gacha game, which is mostly themed off Persona 5. I'm so burnt out on Persona 5 that now I just don't care. When they announce something and it's like, Persona 5 this, I'm like, oh, I don't care. I really don't care. Just give me Persona 6 and the Persona 4 remake. Can you please do something else? Unfortunately, this has become a bit of a disappointment. Coming in at number 7 is a game combination that I still really like. I love both these games and I do play them both equally, but if you were to sit me down and say, which one do I prefer more? It's gonna be the one that came before. And I'm talking about Fire Emblem Engage and Fire Emblem Three Houses. Fire Emblem is a series that has always had some of the best strategy RPG combat in the genre, right? From Sacred Stones finally being brought over to the US on Game Boy Advance to where we are now with these two. This game has always been a pinnacle of great strategy RPG, tactical RPG, storytelling, and combat. And that is still present here. Now, yes, they did dumb down the combat a bit, in Three Houses to kind of fit this more casual sort of feel that this game has. And they did ramp it back up in Engage, right? Engage is a lot more about combat, going from combat scenario to combat scenario, whereas Three Houses is a lot about going from combat scenario to relationship building to running around the academy to combat scenario. And I liked the balance that they struck here. I do kind of want the more in-depth combat that was in Engage in Three Houses. I think they can marry each other very well. I don't think you need to strip down the combat in here because of all the extra stuff you added. So for me, I would have preferred to have a Three Houses like story, relationship building engagement system, that you have in this, but in Engage. And Engage is very linear. You play one main character going through one story. There might be a branch here and there, but it's really irrelevant. Whereas in Three Houses, you really have three stories. Yes, the first couple acts play out the same regardless of who you pick, but at the end, that third act, when everyone's kind of time jumped forward, is drastically different. And you really feel the impact of who you chose, what armies you decided to recruit, what characters you built relationships with. You really feel that in Three Houses. And I think that's why I resonate with this one so much more. Yes, as with all of these games, when you have such a huge roster, you run into the main problems of tropes, right? You have the edgy guy, you have the cutesy girl, you have the ditzy one. That's just the nature of the beast when you have such big rosters. But the fact that I like about Three Houses is because you can pick the house that you go with and which characters you interact with, and you can kind of pull from other houses to join this one minus their primary lieutenant. You really get to pick and choose who you interact with. So if you don't like the ditzy one, don't talk to her, leave her over there, who cares? But Engage, because the story is so linear and the group that you run with is so set in stone, you don't have that as a benefit. Now, do I admit that Engage is a better game in terms of gameplay? Yes, 100%. The gameplay in Engage is better because the combat is more fleshed out and it is a lot better. But when you ask me which Fire Emblem game I'd rather play Three Houses. So for me, Engage, although great, was a disappointment when I played it and I realized all of the cool relationship building aspects of Three Houses were gone. I kind of just was like, wow, I really missed them. I didn't think I would because they really haven't been in any of the Fire Emblem games. It's always been a part of Fire Emblem, right? Building relationships with your team, but it's never been as on display as Three Houses did. And once it was gone, I immediately missed it. So I hope the next Fire Emblem game finds a good way to mix these two together so that way we can have best of both worlds. Coming in at number 6, we have a concept that I want to talk about, and I wrote it on a piece of paper, and you're gonna laugh. MMOs. MMOs are in a weird state right now. I grew up on World of Warcraft. I played Burning Crusade all the way to War Within, right? I loved BC, Wrath, Kata. I liked Mists. It was fine. Warlords of Draenor's story at the start was amazing and then fell off horribly because of the lack of content. Then you have Legion, which was a great expansion. Then you have Shadowlands, which was so boring. I started checking out in Shadowlands. And then you had the Battle for Azeroth. I checked out in that. I never even finished the storyline in that one. And then we have the War Within, and I quit. I just completely quit. I got so tired of this rinse repeat kind of style that they're doing in World of Warcraft, where you make me grind for hours and hours and hours to get this awesome gear, and then in the next expansion, who cares? The gear is irrelevant. I'm so bored of MMOs, and this is an issue with MMOs as a whole. And this is why it's on my disappointments list, is because MMOs have lost that identity of being an MMO. They're like a multiplayer solo online game now, and that's not the way I want to play these games. That's not why any of us want to play these games. You have dungeon finder mechanics, which take away all the need to interact with people to form groups. You have raid finder, which again, you need a 40-man group. Well, who cares? The game will just stick you all together. You have zero reason to interact with anybody. You'll literally go through a whole raid and never speak a single word. What kind of interaction is that? That's not the type of interaction people want in an MMO. Yes, for something like World of Warcraft, which is a little bit more of a casual experience, I can understand why that has its place there. But for every other game that's like that, that's not what we're looking for. We want the days of World of Warcraft Classic. The reason why that game is lauded as one of the best MMOs, besides the fact that it is literally the GOAT of its time, is because you had to interact with other people. You had to form groups to finish quests. You had to form groups to complete elite mobs. You had to manually find people who needed to do the same dungeons as you. You had to actually make friends that you trusted and could interact with to do raids. There was so much talking and interacting and getting to know each other in Classic because it was necessary. You could not do content without friends and other people. And although some people nowadays don't like that, I think that is a issue with our current sort of mindset of this instant gratification. I want to hit button, kill monster, get loot, move on. Back then it was, I want to kill these 3 boars. I can only take on one at a time, but they're packed close together. I can't beat that. Oh, hey, there's a dude running over there. Let me ask him real quick. Whisper, hey, dude, can you help me kill these 3 boars real quick? He's going to say yes because Cool, I get to do something with someone else. He may also be on the same quest, you don't know. And now you may have just made a friend for life. That's why old World of Warcraft is so popular with people. Nowadays, you have New World, which New World was probably the most recent MMO that I really sunk my teeth into. And then they started to sanitize that. You have Lost Ark, which I don't even know what happened there. I know I kind of backed out before the huge fall in players, but it had like 1 million players. Now it's barely struggling to keep players because the RNG is so intense. Then you have the other thing that MMOs are doing a lot these days, which is just predatory microtransactions and other things, right? It's so bad in MMOs right now because they want to make a free-to-play MMO because most people don't want to pay a subscription, but then they fill it with either pay-to-win stuff or microtransactions that are so intrusive. And like, what was it? Chrono Odyssey, which was the most recent beta tested MMO that I played, that came out in such a sorry state. The combat was so floaty and non-impactful. It didn't feel chunky, so I didn't engage with the combat. The lighting was so off and whitewashed because of the engine was apparently messing up. And they admitted like, hey, that's just because it's an older build. It's on the beta. You know, we apologize. And that's fine. But then all of us in the back of our mind, every video you watch is like, well, this is nice and all, but wait until release and see how you guys monetize this game. That's when we will really kind of give our true opinion. And unfortunately, that's how all MMOs are. It's, yeah, on paper, this looks cool, but are you gonna ruin it with microtransactions and pay to win, mechanics? World of Warcraft has lost the damn plot when it comes to this. They make you pay a subscription, they make you buy their expansions, and they have an in-game store that sells mounts that are infinitely better and more detailed than the crap you get in the game now. Yeah, there are some cool mounts in-game, but most of the mounts that are in-game off bosses are reskins of other things you can get in quests. I don't want a 5th frog that's blue when I could get this really cool mouse with like this neat gold trim and wings that can fly. Oh, no. That's something you have to buy with the 6-month expansion pass. Sorry. Why? Like, you've taken everything out of WoW that made it so great and you've just destroyed it, in my opinion. And I have no interest in going back. The only one that has any interest for me now is Ashes of Creation, but that has been in development for so long. I'm sorry to say, but I have doubts that it's going to meet any of the expectations people have for it. We'll have yet to see. But the truth is, MMOs are in such a sorry state. I would have loved for them to redone Star Wars: The Old Republic with a more combat-focused animation and combat system, because even the developer and the head of it came out and said, yeah, we did tab targeting to match World of Warcraft, and we probably shouldn't have done tab targeting. 100% correct. What was that game a long time ago, WildStar, that was coming out in the late 2000s, early 2010s? That game was one of the games I backed, I bought into, and it was canceled. And that was so awesome. It was action combat with like telegraphed mechanics that you had to pay attention to. That game could have been great. But alas, it never came to. And it's an unfortunate truth that MMOs just aren't in a place where they need to be anymore. It's a dying genre, and I'm very disappointed in how no one seems to be able to recapture that magic of MMOs anymore, because they either sanitize everything to where it's so casual, or they overly monetize it to where it's pay to win and just junky. So MMOs, that's probably the biggest rant you'll get out of me right now, is MMOs, because they're just that just make me so unhappy as a gamer. Moving on. Coming in at number 5, we have Mario Kart World. Here's our first Switch 2 game. We're going to go back to the Switch-related disappointments now. The reason this is a disappointment is because this was $80. I paid $80 for this. $80 freaking dollars. And the truth is it's basically Mario Kart 8 with a small open world kind of concept. It doesn't feel like that much of an upgrade. Visually, it's fine. I mean, because they use these cartoon graphics, they always kind of look great on a Nintendo console, let's be real. But the new things they added just don't justify that cost. If I play Mario Kart 8, because of all the expansion passes and the DLC that have come out for it, that I get with my yearly pass, there are so many tracks and things in that game. It's insane. And in Mario Kart World, they're like, yeah, we have a lot of tracks and stuff, but look at all the things you can get when you go explore the world. You know what you get? Stickers. You know what I don't care about as a grown-ass man? Stickers. I would have much preferred if they gave me, you know, new car models or new wheels, new wings, like things that would let me kind of customize my vehicle to fit my playstyle, right? If I went and collected, you know, let's say the coin that was at the top of a barn that I had to yeet myself off of a ramp to get, and it's like, cool, you got that. Here's your reward. Here's a new chassis for a bike. That would have been cool, but no, it's a sticker. Ooh, I don't play with stickers anymore. So for me, this was a huge letdown. I'd rather play Mario Kart 8. There's a lot more content in it because of all the tracks. There's a lot more people playing it, I'll tell you that. And the fact that this was $80 when this doesn't feel like a full game because it's missing a lot of the tracks and obviously the things they're going to do down the line for it, like they did with 8. And then you have these, which were not $80, like these were $70, but these are full game experiences, and I would argue Bonanza way better than Mario Kart World. Bonanza, I'm in the middle of. I'm having so much fun playing this. This is an absolute blast of a title. Nintendo, you know, made a home run with this, I will admit. This is a miss, and this was a huge disappointment because obviously Mario Kart 8, one of the biggest selling games of all time, the flagship for the console, really the flagship for Nintendo at this point. And when this came out and I'm like, okay, let me pick this up, I'm expecting it to have a lot of the tracks from Mario Kart 8 in it, right? Because we've already downloaded those into our Switch. We already got them from the past. None of that is in here as an extra. It's just, you know, yeah, maybe one track is in here because it's part of the lineup, but man, was this a letdown, especially considering the cost difference between these three games when these two are much bigger and much more complete titles. So for me, my number 5 is Nintendo, Mario Kart World, and honestly, the way they've been pricing their games. Coming in at number 4 is going to be probably a small, like, win for me now on this list, because I realize a lot of you probably clicked off after the Tears of the Kingdom and Persona 5 one, but you might follow me on this one, and that is going to be Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. I'm a huge Pokemon fan. If you can't tell, we got Gengar over here. We got my Burger King Pokeball from when I was in the, what was it, 6th grade, 7th grade. I still have that damn Pokeball with the gold-plated Pikachu in it. That is still up there for me. So Pokemon has always been part of my life. I love it, love it, love it. And I understand it's for kids. Totally understand that. But for me, there was something about Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the team that you have to fight, Team Star, the system issues that came out with this. It was atrocious. It really felt like a huge nosedive for the Pokemon company. And that kind of sucks because Pokemon has always kind of had this level of polish to it, right? That no one has ever really kind of matched when it comes to making hero collectors, right? You have Dragon Warrior, was it Dragon Quest Monster Hunters or whatever, where you're trying to collect monsters. And even that, you're just like, I'd rather go play Pokemon. Right, you have the balancing of all the different types. You have all the different Pokemon. There's over 1,000 now. So all of that sounds great. But when this game came out, the biggest thing was it's open world. You guys can do whatever you want. And for me as a Pokemon fan, I'm thinking, hell yeah, that's the best next advancement of the Pokemon formula we could go with. I am totally for it. But it's not open world. That's the biggest lie that they tell you on this game. Because the fact of the matter is, because there's no level scaling, you still kind of have to go the linear path if you want to be able to complete content. You can't go to the 8th gym and walk in and expect it to scale down to your level and beat the boss and be like, haha, I gotcha. No, because her Pokemon are level 50, 60, right? Because there's no level scaling. So you can't do that first. You can't do the other things in the game that it's trying to tell you you can go do, because now you would have to grind. But while you grind, you might as well complete everything in order. And there is a best order to do everything in this game. And to me, that was the biggest disappointment when I got the game. I popped it in and I realized it's kind of like a fake open world. Yeah, you could go everywhere, but it's not a good idea to go to the level 30 zone when you just start, because everything in there will beat you to a bloody pulp. Not to mention all the system related issues and performance issues that this game had on the original Switch. It was a disaster. I'm glad that they gave us the free upgrade on the Switch 2. It does run a lot better. Totally happy with that. But for me, it's kind of like, again, when you expect that level of Pokemon company polish, it was missing so much in this game. The trees, oh my god, the infamous trees. And lastly, the evil team, the dumbest, okiest, stupidest team I've ever seen in a Pokemon game, and honestly in any game period. If you took every game that I've played and said what game had the worst evil team in it, this is number one. It's a bunch of kids who don't go to school because they're bullied, and the way they fight back is by bullying everyone else. That's the story. And yes, they try to kind of like explain that that's not the right way to do things, and they try to convince the kids to come back, that they'll be I don't care. That was the stupidest message and the stupidest evil team Pokemon have ever come with. Team Star is a pile of crap. I hate Team Star. Again, I understand these are for kids, and I'm not taking that away. But we had Team Rocket, who were stealing Pokemon to, fulfill their evil deeds, chopping off Slowpoke tails so they can sell them on the market. Team Magma and Team Aqua, who were trying to cover the world in water or fire to cleanse the world and bring it to a new, Team Plasma, who's trying to manipulate time. They actually had stakes. I feel no stakes against a group of kids who are just mad that they got picked on in school. I'm sorry to break it to you, world, and this is going to piss a lot of people off. Everybody gets picked on in school. That's part of building your character. Being bullied, as much as it sucks, is part of life. It kind of helps start to develop the skin that you have on the outside of being able to resist the fact that people in the world aren't the nicest people. There are mean people that you will interact with, regardless of how old you are. I get bullied all the time online because I'm fat. I don't fucking care anymore. Make fun of me for being fat. If that's all you got, I'm sorry. I don't mind it. But the fact that that is the whole concept of Team Star is we were bullied, so we're gonna cut school and bully everyone else. Moving on. Coming in at number 3, we have another Switch 2 topic, and this is a big one, game keys. This is a big disappointment for me because I like physical. Right? These are all Switch games except for the books right here and then my PS5 games here. These are all Switch games. They have different spines on them because I do buy spines off of an Etsy seller. So like he makes these custom spines for Switch games. Awesome. Anyways, moving on. When they came out with the concept of game keys, I'm thinking, this is a great idea. I'd rather buy a physical copy of a game that I can put on my shelf to showcase that I own it. And if it's too big to fit on the 64 gig Switch 2 cartridge, okay, cool. I understand why the publisher might put it on a game key. This is the prime example of why this is a garbage idea, is because you give the power of whether it's a game key to the publisher, not to the rules of what a game key should be. The game keys was supposed to say, hey, this game is over 64 gigs. We can't compress it any further to fit on a Nintendo Switch cartridge. We still want this to be able to get out to the market to you as a physical product. So let's give you a game key so you can pop the key in, download the game, and once you're done, sell it, give it to a friend, whatever, you have a physical part of the game. Cool. This is, again, why this is BS. This game is probably, 16 gigs max tops? I think it was either 8 or 16. I can't remember which multiple of 8 it was. But either way, this game is not 64 gigs, right? This is a remake of the DS game that came out like 10 years ago. Why is this on a game key? Yakuza 0, not 64 gigs. Why is this on a game key? And before everyone's like, well, maybe they had issues with the compression, maybe they had issues putting it on, this game just erases all those ideas and complaints 100%. The fact that they fit Cyberpunk 2077 and the expansion on a cartridge, but they didn't do it with this? Game keys are stupid. Moving on to number 2, we have one of my favorite series of all time. That the reason this is such a disappointment is because I think they handled this so badly. I fear we're never going to see anything from this IP ever again, and that is an atrocity because this IP deserves just as much love as Fire Emblem, in my opinion, and that is Advance Wars, specifically the Advance Wars 1+2 reboot. This game had so much potential to bring this IP back to the mainstream and get it kicking again. It was unfortunately delayed because the war in Ukraine occurred and they were trying to be respectful and not put out a game about war. Meanwhile, Call of Duty released the same year. I get where they're trying to come from, but at the same time, because they did that when it did finally release, I don't think anyone cared anymore. Sure, you had the hardcore fans like me, Bangs, all of us were like, yeah, let's do it. But everyone else was like, ooh, what? That's still coming out? Is it out yet? I don't even know. Obviously, I had it on lock. I knew I was going to want this game. They tried really hard. They had like the little treehouse event to try to showcase the game. They really tried to push this to be a success. Unfortunately, because of the delay and some of the decisions they made with this game, I think they kind of shot themselves in the foot with ever bringing this series back. They changed the aesthetic, right? The aesthetic was this really cool, because it was on the Game Boy Advance, this really cool pixelated aesthetic where it was like real soldiers on the battlefield battling it out, and now it's pieces on a game board. What? Sanitization. Again, this whole idea that we need to sanitize everything around us to fit this sort of like feather bed sort of feel that everyone needs to be comfortable. I'm so tired of it. You know, this was a story about nations battling it out and going to war because of this alien force coming and kind of messing with everybody. And now it's, I don't like you. Put your pieces on the board and let's fight. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm gonna fight you with my deck of cards. It kind of feels like that. So there's no, you don't feel any stakes here because it looks like a game board. It doesn't feel like actual combat. The character redesigns are fine. The new artwork is whatever. The music is phenomenal. I love the redone tracks in here. But they didn't really update the things that they should have, right? They were so focused on making it look like a board game and fake that they didn't pay enough attention to the things that made the original kind of a flawed game. The AI being one of the biggest examples. You could be literally one turn away from winning, put an APC out, and the AI is like, oh my God, an APC, public enemy number one, focus, and they'll focus the APC and then you win, right? You can cheese the AI really easily in this game, and all the tactics that worked back in the day still work in this. And if you want examples, check out Meng's channel. He kind of goes over this a lot more in depth of why this was unfortunately a failure. And I did a short review of this. I did a 1-minute review. It's one of my most viewed videos ever on the channel. And I praised this game because when it came out, I didn't see those shortcomings right away. And I also don't play online, right? I focus primarily on the single player campaign. I liked the campaign of this a lot. So for me, the online restrictions and the things that were missing from online, again, I didn't focus on. And I even said in the review, I'm not considering that in my review. And I think I gave it a 9 out of 10 because to me, as someone who grew up with the Game Boy Advance version, this was something I had been waiting for. But the more I play it and the more I engage with it, the more disappointed I get because I realize they sanitize the way it looks and feels because of this, you know, we don't want it to be real war. They took away all of the grit out of the, you know, what it means to have nations at war because, again, they look like toys. They took away all of the potential with the release window because they wanted to respect what was happening in Europe, which I understand, and I don't want to downplay that. That was a noble decision, but when you also have Call of Duty coming out the same year, that's also a stupid decision because clearly it doesn't mean that much to people. People still will play the game. It's a video game. Not to mention, you also have their toys now, so who cares if it comes out at the same, whatever. And then, like I said, you have all the issues with the multiplayer being only local only at the start and them having to patch in fixes for stuff like that. It just overall felt like such a letdown because also when you look at the sales, like I said, you realize I don't think we're ever going to see Dual Strike remade. Obviously, they're not going to do Days of Ruin because you can't make Days of Ruin look like toys because Days of Ruin was very realistic in its story and grit. So this is such a disappointment because I wanted this series to come back. I wanted this to sit side by side on the shelf with Fire Emblem as like maybe a release every 3-4 years. And I would have been happy, but now I don't think we're ever going to get more of it. So for me, that is definitely number 2. Finishing off the list, we have my number 1, the biggest disappointment in gaming over the last decade. And again, we have a category, and this might feel like a cheat, and I don't care, and that is AAA games. Just the state of AAA games. What a mess. When I go back to it, I'm going to use a word again that I've used several times in this video, and it is sanitization. They are so focused on, you know, making comfy experiences, they say, right? I want a comfy game. And they're so focused on not offending anybody, or they're so focused on checking boxes that AAA has really lost its identity. And prime examples of that, right? Think about if you're, in your 30s like me, think about back in the day when you booted up Medal of Honor or you booted up some EA game and you heard
EA games.
Challenge everything.
You heard that and it was like, oh yeah, here we go. I'm about to play something awesome. Now when the EA logo pops up, the first thing you expect is a microtransaction to be shoved in your face. When the EA logo pops up, you expect it to be a rehash of last year's game that they've already rehashed 7 other times. When Ubisoft's logo pops up, you immediately expect it to either be Far Cry or Assassin's Creed. And Assassin's Creed, that has lost its damn identity, right? Assassin's Creed 1 through 3 was this really cool story, where you're following these guys who are using this device to go back in time and kind of insert themselves with this cult and this society. It was really cool. And now it's just, oh, you just play Guy in Valhalla. You just play Guy in ancient Japan. I'm not even going to get into the controversy and the stupidity of them picking Yasuke as the character to play in Japan when Japan has so many awesome characters that you could have picked from that are Japanese to really kind of sell the fact that this is a Japanese themed game. I don't want to get into that. Dragon Age Veilguard, another prime example. I play Dragon Age to escape the world that I'm in. I want to play Dragon Age to go into this fantasy world and escape the politics that are around me 24/7. And I have a character who has to throw pronouns in my face. I have a game that has to push transgenderism on me when I don't identify with that at all.
That's why we recruited her.
Actually, Tosh uses them for themselves now.
They asked us to let folks know, so now you do.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you for telling me. That's why we recruited them.
So, I'm non-binary.
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
So for me, guess what? This world and this fantasy world that I'm trying to go into to escape my real world has real world junk in it that I don't want to engage in. I'm not saying this because I have any issues with that. I don't. I support LGBT rights. I'm 100% on your side saying you should have equal rights as everyone else, but I don't identify with any of that. So I don't need it in a game set in, 1200 fantasy land with dragons and junk. I don't need that in there. I don't want that in there. So for me, it's just like having that be kind of shoehorned into all these storylines because we have to make sure we hit the 10% audience who cares about this. It bugs me because you're taking away what could have been a really cool story. You could have had this really awesome story without all that, taken all that out, replaced it with actual character development and really cool storytelling. Great game, wonderful game. But instead, because we're now focusing on that and focusing on there's that one character who has to do the mansplaining thing to you about respecting people and stuff. I'm like, dude, I don't need this in my video game. I see it in the news. I don't need it in my escapism. So for me, AAA is its own thing. And if you want more proof of that, you have Clear Obscure Expedition 33, my game of the year, one of my favorite games I've ever played. Wonderful story, awesome characters, a small team of 30-something people. It was an amazing story. The music in that game is just life-changing, right? That's an indie game, it's not AAA. Baldur's Gate 3, I'm in the middle of another playthrough. I got to play with a bunch of mods. I'm playing a cool class that's a modded class. Hours upon hours upon hours. My first playthrough was 90-something hours as a bard. I finished it, loved it. Indie game, technically, AA at most. Balatro, one of the most addictive games I've ever played. I play it on my phone and I have it on my PC. AA at most, right? I think it's one dude who made that. Kingdom Come Deliverance, one of the coolest portrayals of ancient times that we get to play through. Very, realistic to the time period. You really feel like you've been dropped into that time zone. AA at most. One of the biggest problems that AAA has is they're so focused on saying, hey, we need to make as much money as possible by monetization and live service. I mean, you've had actual CEOs and developers come out and say, gamers don't want single player experiences. They like live services. Because you're using Fortnite as a gauge to say that. Fortnite is a bunch of 10, 15-year-olds who play Fortnite because they can do stupid dances and, teabag people. Oh, wait, you can't teabag people now. That's against the rules. Just stuff like that is just so annoying because that's not true. You're missing really what people are. People like Dragon Age Veilguard who like it because it's a single player experience that tells a full story. Red Dead Redemption 2, single player experience with a full story. One of the best stories ever told in the Wild West. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, single player. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, single player. Death Stranding 2, which just came out, single player. All these are single player games that have amazing. Elden Ring, one of the biggest games of our time, single player. Why can they not take the hint that if you just make a good game, you take a chance on a different idea, you stop shoveling the same junk in our mouth over and over again, we're gonna keep spitting it out because we're sick of it. I don't want Far Cry 7. I don't want Call of Duty 58. I don't want another Assassin's Creed. I want you to make something original that is fun, that is engaging, that tells a cool story in a cool world. You know why Blizzard lost all respect? Because Blizzard doesn't do that anymore. Blizzard used to make the coolest IPs. StarCraft was a cool IP. Diablo's a great IP. World of Warcraft's awesome IP, right? The Warcraft IP. You know what? Overwatch, awesome. Now what do? Overwatch 2, Diablo 4, they scrap StarCraft altogether. Hearthstone, World of Warcraft. Where's the new cool IP and games from Blizzard that take ideas from other genres and mold them together into this cool, awesome, semi-casual version of those mechanics to make new audiences fall in love with it? That's literally what Blizzard has always excelled at. Are getting sick of it. I don't even care anymore about Blizzard. Blizzard is one of those companies I used to absolutely love and respect. And I don't even think, I think the only game I have on my computer that's installed for Blizzard is StarCraft. Yeah, I have StarCraft. I can see the icon. That's the only game for Blizzard. And that's StarCraft 1. Because StarCraft 2 is one of the most junkiest garbage stories I've ever played when it comes to the continuation of a story. At the end of Brood War, Kerrigan proves to everyone she was a bitch the whole time who didn't care. She's evil. And StarCraft 2 starts with Jim Raynor's gonna, protect her and forgive her and kiss her. And she's gonna become this all-powerful being because girl boss. I fucking hated the ending of StarCraft 2. Hated it. Because it literally took everything that we built in StarCraft 1 and Brood War and just said, you might as well just retcon all that junk. She's not evil. We can't have her be evil. We can't have a girl be evil. Kerrigan was the best villain that they ever had, and they completely, again, sanitized it. Whatever. I'm going to stop there because I'm going to keep ranting. I don't know what to say. Gaming overall still is at a high, right? We have awesome games right now. Delta Force is a game. 2042, Battlefield 2042. Oh my God, what a mess. Hopefully with Battlefield 6, they course correct. From the trailer, we can only assume that they are course correcting. It was not a gameplay trailer, but it did show focus more on soldiers on a battlefield. So maybe they are. But yeah, we have Delta Force. Mecha Break is really fun. So there's a lot of great games. So I don't want to like doom and gloom that gaming is over. Not even close. Gaming is in a great place right now. I'm more than happy to play a lot of games. It's just at the end of the day, man, oh man, have there been some disappointments in the last 10 years, and that is saying a lot. Anthem. Again, Anthem. I really wanted to like Anthem, and then it just shit the bed. Anyways, let's move on from there. Thank you guys for joining me. That's going to be the end of the list. I kind of ranted at the end there. If you've ever been on my Twitch stream, what we call an Utini rant, because my name on Twitch is Utini Bikini. Yeah, ranting is a big point of that stream, and you can just say a few trigger words and I'll rant for like an hour. It's become kind of a meme at this point. If you have never joined us, again, twitch.tv/Utini Bikini, come and hang out. I try to stream more often now that I'm not working, but with YouTube and stuff like that and working on getting my unemployment stuff, I just haven't been able to stream lately. Also, my AC broke, so my house has been like 90 degrees inside, so turning on my computer wasn't even a possibility. It would overheat. Join the Discord, come hang out with us. I would really like to mix these two communities together. I have all my Twitch community on there, so it'd be great to get some YouTube members over there to kind of, interact with us. Drop a like and sub. Keep an eye on the community page on YouTube. I am going to drop another poll to see what you guys want next. And with all that being said, thank you guys for joining me today. And as always, have a great day.